Hello friends, welcome to my channel Fusion Next Gen Learning. If you're first time viewer on my channel, subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon to get latest update from Fusion Next Gen Learning. In today's demonstration, we are going to cover one more business requirement, how to update item EFF details via FBDI. I would say that configuration you have to do before update or create extensible flex field for that particular item via FBDI. So there are two setups mainly required to do that. You have to have the extensible flex field defined in the system. And second, you have to go to the offering. So what you have to do, you have to go to the setup and maintenance. Within the setup and maintenance, you have to go to the product management and you have to click on the change feature opt-in. Once you click on the change feature opt-in, you have to come down and you have to make sure that within the data governance, this option is enabled. So data quality rules for product. So if you have not enabled the data governance, then it won't update the EFF values. It will fail the EFF value if you try to load that. So generally, without enabling the data governance, the feature, it will consider only the product model. It won't consider the extensible flex field for that particular item. So you have to initially enable this feature and you have to configure the extensible flex field. So let me show you what I have configured for the demo. So manage extensible flex field. So if I click that, you will see that just search with the item. So item extended attribute, that is the name. Type is extensible flex field. Advanced item, that is called the module. And flex field code is EGO underscore item underscore EFF. If I click on the pencil icon and if I go to the manage context and if I try to type item, so if you look that I have configured item underscore EFF underscore demo. So that is what the context I have defined. Let me show you with that. If you look at, so I have defined the display name as a item underscore EFF underscore demo. This is the code that we will utilize to fill our FBDI template as a context code. And if you looked at, this is what the segment I have defined. If you click on the pencil icon, so this is what attribute you have to look at. So whatever the segment you have defined, so you have to populate for that segment the values within that particular table column so that the correct mapping will be done. And based on your value set, whether it's the dependent value set, whether it's context based, table based, so accordingly you have to choose your respective values while preparing the FBDI template. Now, if you looked at the context uses, so what I have done, I have selected the item and then style to SKU is inherited so that whatever we have the item style, it will be applicable and inherited to the child organization. Same way, master to child organization. So let's take an example. If you have defined your EFF values, that will automatically inherit it to the child organization. You won't need to re-update the EFF values to the child organization. Now, if you looked at the view privileges and edit privileges. So if you click on the drop down, you have two privilege options available. One is edit and one is view. So this is related to the healthcare. So you have to have the option enable the view privilege if you are working for the healthcare company implementation to enable all those extensible flag shield. So this is related to the view privilege and this is related to the edit privilege. So based on your requirement, you can enable this. Otherwise, it won't be displayed and segregated. Now, once you define this EFF detail, you have to deploy it. Once you deploy, so the page association, that also you have to do. So if you look that, so I have done the page association. So you can refer my previous video where I have demonstrated how to create the extensible flex field. So now if you look that, it's the deployment status is enabled. So now my extensible flex field is implemented. Now what I have to do in order to create the item. So what I will do in this demonstration, I will create my item via FBDI as well as I will create or update my EFF information at the item level with having the FBDI. So let me open the FBDI. So if you look that, this is what the item import template. So how to get the item import template? So you have to just go to the Google and you have to type item import template FBDI. So if you do that, there is a first option called file based data import FBDI for SCM. Once you click on that particular path, you have to come down within the product lifecycle management and you have to select the item. So if you look at within the product lifecycle management, there are catalog, change order, idea import, item structure, product proposal import, requirement import. So there are several FBDI templates given with this. And what you have to do if you selected the item, then you have to just click on the item import template. It will download in the downloaded location and you have to start the preparing it. Now coming back to the preparation. So if you look at instructions and CSV generation. So if you looked at in FBDI, first page will give you the overview related to what all the attribute, the interface table used in that particular respective FBDI, and then how to prepare the data and what all steps you have to perform in order to loading the data in the application. Then Excel template format, what all format. So same format you have to use in order to mention any date if you are using, any IDs if you are using, and any respective information. Now, recommendations for loading PIM interface data. So these are the recommendations given what you have to use so you can go through all the recommendations accordingly. And if you looked at to submit the item import process, there is all the steps given in this BDI, the overview page, where you can just go through. You can get all the idea how to load. Anyway, I will demonstrate. And to correct the import errors, there is also mentioned the steps, the same steps you have to follow. Now, coming to the next step, in order to create new item via BDI, what all things you have to consider. So you have to first click on the tab EGP underscore system underscore items underscore interface. This tab will consist the transaction type. So basically, you can create new record, you can update the existing record, or you can sync the data in the system. So any values you would like to update or sync that you can use to create. So I will be utilizing create because I want my item to be created with FBDI. Now, if you look at, so I have given the batch ID. Batch ID is important in order to run the item import program. So you have to keep remember, or maybe you can take a note of it. Now coming to the item number. So I will change my item number XX underscore 5 times 0 and 2. So this is what my item number. Now coming to the organization code. So that you have to use your master organization, and if you are importing your items for the child organization, then you have to use the your child organization. Now coming to the description. So description, I will mention the same information. Now coming to the template. Template name. So you have to use the correct information related to the template name. So that template. So what is the template? Template is consist of the group of the attribute. So it depends the item behavior. So once you applied the purchased template, then automatically related to purchased item, all the attribute will be defaulted automatically. So you don't need to fill out all those respective information. If you have a specific attribute to be enabled within the template itself, then you have to enter manually all that particular respective attribute. Now, source system code, PIMDH, that you have to use. Now, if I scroll to the right, you can look at item class name. So you have to enter the item class name, then primary unit of measure. After that, life cycle phase, item status. So these informations are mandatory if you would like to create item in your system. Now, if I scroll to the right, you can look that there are several attributes available at the item label. So currently, why it is blank? Because I am utilizing my template, because I want my all attribute will be defaulted based on my template. So this is one time of activity rather than updating the attribute, because some of the attribute will take the IDs and some of the attributes will take the values or the code. So it's quite difficult to keep remember all those attributes. So better you create the template, update all those required information, the attribute information within the template, and directly apply the template while creating the item in the system. Now, what next? So I have first step, I will be creating my item because that item has to be exist. Now, second tab is related to the revision, the categories, relationship, association, and the EGO underscore item underscore interface underscore EFFB. So that tab particular relevant to the EFF. So if you would like to update, create EFF information for that particular item, you have to update this particular tab. So if you looked at, I have selected the create. There is also option update, delete, or sync. So create. Now I have given the batch ID. Now number. So I will change the same number because I will be creating the first this particular item and then I will be updating my organization code. Source code is PIMDH. And if you come to that, the context code. So that context code I have utilized. So if I go back and I'll show you the information. So let me go back to the setup and maintenance and I'll show you where from I have taken. So search, manage, extensible, flexfield. I'll click on that, select item and click on enter, manage context, select item. And if I enter the pencil icon, then you will notice that this is what the code I have utilized. So same code you have to utilize while populating this context code. Now attribute, since I am utilizing for my segment attribute one. So if you notice that in the system, if I click on the pencil icon, I am utilizing the table column attribute tier one. So same you have to make sure that whatever the values you would like to populate, you are populating into the correct column. So I have populated the value called carbon. Now, once you're done, so there are several attributes. So based on what attribute you would like to populate, you can choose all of them. Now, batch ID can be same for, let's take an example. If you are updating or creating item EFF for 500 records, batch ID can be same for all the 500 records. If you would like to go with the unique for each record, then it will be quite difficult to run for each record every time. So better you can have one batch ID consist of thousands record, 500 record, 2000 records as per your business requirement. Now I will be ready to generate the CSV dip. So basically there is a tab in the first tab. You will notice that there is a button called generate CSV file. It will generate the CSV file consisting within the GIF folder. So we have to upload that GIF folder to the UCM server. So now let me click on the generate CSV. And if you notice that I'll save this to the particular location. So let me save this with the item 4. So I have saved the GIF. Now you will notice that it will generate the folder consisting the all the CSV file within that folder. And after that, I will be uploading it to the UCM server. So now the process is started and you will notice that CSV and GIF file have been created. So we got that. Now what we have to do? So basically, we have to start uploading that particular file. So we'll go to the navigator. Within the navigator, what we have to do, either you can click on go to the file import and export, you can directly upload to the UCM server. Otherwise, you can go to the schedule process. And within the schedule process, you can click on the schedule new process. And within the process, you have to enter load interface percent. So if you looked at load interface file for import. So that is what the ESS job you have to use when you have created the FBDI GIF folder. Once you click on OK, then import process. So which import process you would like to use in order to execute that particular data file, you have to search. So we will be utilizing item import. That is what our import process and data file. Within the data file, if you have uploaded via export and import the UCM server, you can get all those files. Otherwise, you have an option upload a new file. So I will upload my file. And if you notice there's item 4. So I have uploaded item 4 as a zip. I will say OK. And after that, I will simply click on the submit. I'll wait that load interface program to be completed successfully. Then only we can start executing the item import. If there are any error while uploading the interface, you will get the error or the warning. So you have to correct those data within the load file to interface. And then you have to try to re-upload. So it is advised that if you try to re-upload, always change the batch ID so that it makes sure to trace all those information in the interface table. Otherwise, you will be confused if you are using the same batch ID. So my file got successfully uploaded. So if you notice that load interface file for import program got succeeded. Now what I will do, I will go back to the schedule node process and I will say item import. So let me use that program item import. And once I click on the item import, what I have to do? I have to give the batch ID. So what was my batch ID? So 1004. So let me check with that. So let's validate that the file. So let me open that. So my first batch ID is 1004. So let's execute the program. Now there are option process all organization, whether no or yes, or a specific organization. Process only create, sync or update. Delete processing, delete processed rows. So if you would like to, delete the processed rows, you can select all rows, error rows, or completed rows. Reprocess error. If you would like to reprocess your file after correcting with the same batch ID, then you can use this option reprocess error. Yes or no? Process sequentially? Yes. Means it has to go into the sequence manner. If you have not selected, still you don't need to worry because you have selected your inventory organization. So system will take care automatically. Now I will say submit and I'll wait this particular item to be successfully created in the system. And once item successfully created in the system, then I will go ahead and I will try to create the EFF information. So first time I will be utilizing the EFF create so that that IDs will be generated in the backend. If you would like to update that information, then you use only the type as a update so that existing value will be replaced by the new value. Now let me refresh. If you notice that still there are several programs running in the backend as a child program. So this is our main parent program. Now I'll refresh. Now, if you notice that parent program now into running mode, if there is any error while importing, then you will get that error message or the warning message. And based on all those warning message or the error message, you have to update and redo entire process. Now, let me refresh. So if you notice that the item import pre-processing is running, so we have to wait till the program get executed. So we'll refresh again. So it's running. Now again, parent program into running and into paused status. So item import child got triggered. So this program will invoke all the child programs. Once all child program will be completed, then only that particular parent program will be completed, succeeded. So if you notice that item import data quality, item import pre-processing, item import perform user-defined processes, and then item import pre-processing, item import child. It got succeeded. Now let's refresh. And if you notice that process API, so that called successfully. Item keyword search, that is also completed successfully. Product management search ingest job, that is also completed. So that item will be available. And then ESS job to run bulk ingest to OSCS, that is also completed. So if you notice that all the program got completed successfully. So if I come to the flat file and again I'll go to the hierarchy, then let's see that item import got succeeded. Means item got successfully created. Now what I will do, I will again run this particular program. So before that, let's go and check the item. So if I go to the manage items and within the item, if I try, so let me search my item. So try to search item. So if you notice that my item successfully imported in the system. And if I try to open the item and if I go to the specification, item specs, if you notice that there won't be any specification value because I have not imported that particular batch ID. So now what I will do, I will go back to the SS job. I will say item import. Since item present, I will say 1005. So that was my batch ID. I'll go and validate it. So let me go back and validate before importing. So 1005. That was my batch ID. So now I will say submit. Now again, it will run subsequent programs. Once item import gets successfully completed, you will notice that my value got created over there. And if I would like to update that particular value, then I have to use the transaction type called update, not the create. Now we'll refresh the item import program. And if I expand that, now you will notice that item import processing is running. User defined processes completed. Now we have to wait for that program to be completed. If you notice that all program getting succeeded and there won't be any error. Now we'll refresh. So generally you will face the error if you have the template value wrong, maybe item class or any item number duplicated, or if you don't have the access to create or update for that particular item. So you have to make sure that you have the sufficient privilege in order to create item in the system or update item in the system. So you can refer my previous videos where I have demonstrated in respect of item class how you can manage all those security controls. I will give the link within the I section so you can refer and understand that in detail. So now if you notice that it's running, now item import got succeeded. Item keyword search is still running. So let me refresh and then we have to go back. So now if you notice that all the program got succeeded, now what I will do, I will go back to the overview and I will try to specification and let me close this and requery the data and will notice that within the item spec, that particular information is coming as a content. Because that is, if you notice that, that is what I have mentioned under the within the attribute here one. That one. So that is same uploaded and available in the system. If I have to revise that value, then I have to use the transaction type as an update. So this is how what exact steps you have to follow in order to create EFF, update EFF values via FBDI in Oracle Fusion. Thank you. Thank you for watching my channel, Fusion Next Gen Learning. Keep subscribing, keep watching. Happy learning.